Humanity has spent centuries turning its telescopes toward the heavens, waiting for a flicker, a whisper, any sign that we are not alone. We searched for a signal written in light or sound, a cosmic greeting from some distant civilization. But when the message finally came, it was not from a faraway star or ancient galaxy. It came from within our own sky, from a traveler that did not belong here. It came from 3I Atlas. For months, astronomers watched it drift through the solar system, its emerald glow pulsing like the heartbeat of something alive. It defied every rule of celestial mechanics, brightening and dimming with unnerving precision. And then, just as the world began to dismiss it as another strange but harmless comet, it changed direction, broadcasting a beam of energy straight toward Mars. At first, scientists believed it was coincidence. But then Mars answered. For the first time in history, we were witnessing what looked like a conversation between worlds, one of them alive, and the other, awakening. It began quietly, with strange data dismissed as noise. Atlas's pulses, measured every 173 minutes, had always been rhythmic, but this one was different. Focused. Compressed. Directed. Orbiters circling Mars registered a sharp burst of radiation piercing the thin Martian atmosphere, lighting it up with a ghostly green shimmer that lasted several minutes. It happened again. Exactly the same duration. Exactly the same frequency. And the conclusion was inescapable: Atlas was transmitting. But then, something impossible occurred. Mars replied. Satellites began detecting electromagnetic bursts rising from the planet's surface, pulses that mirrored Atlas's rhythm but carried small, deliberate variations. They weren't echoes. They were modulations. Mars was transforming the message before sending it back. To some, it sounded like mimicry. To others, it was language. And then came the tremors. Seismic monitors, silent since old missions, began to vibrate again. The data they sent back was haunting, perfectly synchronized quakes resonating with the same rhythm as Atlas's pulse. The patterns weren't chaotic. They were geometric, spirals, hexagons, triangles, etched in the frequency domain like a planetary signature. Mars wasn't just receiving. It was speaking. Theories exploded across the scientific community. Some believed the signals had awakened dormant geological systems deep beneath the crust. Others whispered that the tremors came from something else, something built, not born. As if a machine beneath the surface had been waiting for a sound only Atlas could make. The more the planet responded, the more its surroundings changed. Phobos, the innermost moon, began reflecting electromagnetic bursts timed perfectly with Mars's pulses. It had become a relay, amplifying the signal. Deimos, farther out, began glowing faintly green, flickering like a dying ember trying to burn again. Suddenly, the entire Martian system seemed alive. Rovers, still crawling across the surface, began failing one by one. Cameras glitched, feeds froze, systems went dark. Engineers thought it was coincidence, until one rover sent a final transmission, a stream of prime numbers matching Atlas's code. Then, silence. The machines had stopped working, but they had also joined the conversation. On Earth, telescopes picked up faint harmonics echoing through interplanetary space. The same geometry, the same rhythm, the same impossible pulse. It was as though the resonance had crossed the void, pulling Earth into its web. Auroras of emerald light appeared over places where no auroras should exist. Radar systems collapsed into static. Radio stations caught bursts of structured noise that hummed with eerie melody, tones that mirrored the Martian signal. The line between planets was fading. And in that silence between pulses, came a realization that chilled the scientific world. This was not random interference. Earth was now part of the pattern. If Mars had answered Atlas, Earth was next. Meanwhile, seismic data from Mars revealed something even stranger. The rhythmic waves bounced back from beneath the surface, not from molten rock, but from vast hollow regions, arranged in impossible symmetry. They weren't natural. They were tuned. Designed. Mars wasn't merely participating in the dialogue. It had been built to respond. And now, something deep inside it was awakening. Phobos's orbit began to shift, subtly at first, then faster. Its trajectory bent in perfect rhythm with each pulse from Atlas. High-resolution images revealed glowing fissures, lines of green light spreading beneath its surface like veins of energy. It was as though the moon itself had been dormant, waiting for this signal. The question that echoed across research centers was no longer why this was happening, but who had set it in motion. On Earth, the resonance was growing stronger. People in remote places, deserts, oceans, mountaintops, began seeing green veils shimmer in the night sky, glowing softly where auroras could never form. Radio operators heard tones within static that formed repeating prime sequences, identical to Atlas's code. The sound wasn't chaotic. It was beautiful. Almost intentional. Humanity was no longer an observer. We had been drawn into the exchange. And as the resonance deepened, historians began to unearth a terrifying pattern. Ancient records, Sumerian, Mayan, Egyptian, all spoke of a green fire in the sky, of the red planet roaring to life, of twin lights that spoke across the heavens. What had once been myth now looked like memory. This had happened before. Atlas was not visiting us for the first time. It was returning. Now, scientists believe the object split in two, one fragment drawn toward the Sun, the other locked onto Mars. From that moment, the pulses became clear, directed, intelligent, deliberate. Mars replied through its trembling crust, through its moons, through auroras that danced in patterns of sacred geometry. And then, faintly, Earth began to echo. The same spirals appeared in our data. The same ratios in our magnetic fields. The same green shimmer on our horizon. The dialogue had spilled over, and humanity, unprepared, unaware, was part of it. The ancient myths now seem less like superstition and more like warnings. Stories of a serpent of light that whispered to Mars, of worlds awakening in cycles that end in silence. NASA remains quiet. Data streams have been cut. Observatories have gone offline. But their silence speaks louder than any signal. Because somewhere out there, Atlas is still transmitting. Mars is still answering. And the frequency between them is growing stronger. The question now isn't whether Atlas is alive. It's whether we are about to awaken, too. Because the cycle hasn't ended. It's only begun. Atlas called. Mars answered. And now, with each passing pulse, the next response may come not from a distant world, but from Earth itself. Subscribe to our channel and thanks for watching.